Radscorpions. Radscorpions aren't post-war accidents. Vault-Tec was studying giant scorpion mutations before the bombs fell. Their terminals reference genus convergence studies, research predicting which species would thrive in irradiated conditions. They knew scorpions would survive. They knew they'd grow. They sold Vault tickets anyway. The base species was the North American emperor scorpion, common in the pre-war pet trade. Radiation resistance was already in their DNA. 200 years just accelerated what nature had prepared. Some variants stayed small. Others became car-sized nightmares that burrow beneath the desert and wait. Their venom evolved alongside their bodies. Pre-war scorpion stings were painful but rarely lethal. Post-war Radscorpion venom can drop a Brahmin in seconds. This isn't random mutation, it's adaptation. The wasteland selected for the deadliest specimens, and 2 centuries of natural selection produced something perfectly designed to kill. They're ambush predators now, sensing vibrations through the ground, erupting from beneath your feet before you know they're there. The wasteland taught them patience. Radscorpions adapted to radiation and thrived, but radiation doesn't treat every species the same way. For humans, survival isn't guaranteed, and keeping your mind is even less certain. Feral ghouls. 2 people stand in the same blast, same radiation dose. One becomes a ghoul with their mind intact, 200 years of memory preserved in rotting flesh. The other goes feral within weeks, reduced to a snarling thing that attacks anything alive. No one knows why. The difference between sanity and savagery is a coin flip. Going feral is the constant fear of every sapient ghoul. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen in a century. There's no test, no warning, no cure. One day, you're yourself. The next day, you're not. And you'll never know the difference because there won't be enough of you left to notice. Feral ghouls cluster around radiation sources, but they also gather at pre-war locations. Homes, schools, offices. Some part of them remembers. That feral shambling toward you in a tattered dress might be someone's grandmother, still haunting the house she died defending. Glowing ones are worse. So irradiated they emit their own light, healing other ferals nearby. They're walking reactors, and they were people once. Ghouls are radiation's accident. Unplanned, unpredictable. But some mutations in the wasteland weren't accidents. They were designed by a man who thought he was saving humanity. Super mutants. Super mutants weren't supposed to be monsters. Richard Gray, the man who became the Master, believed FEV would unite humanity. One species, one mind, no more war. He called it unity. He dipped hundreds of people into the vats, transforming them into his children. He didn't realize until too late that his perfect race couldn't reproduce. FEV, Forced Evolutionary Virus, was a pre-war military project to create super soldiers. Gray fell into the vats at Mariposa military base and merged with the virus itself, becoming a psychic amalgamation of flesh spreading across walls and ceilings. He saw humanity's future in the green mutant flesh. Intelligence varies wildly among super mutants. Pure humans, vault dwellers unexposed to radiation, produce smarter specimens. Wastelanders produce brutes. The Master prioritized vault raids for exactly this reason. He wanted thinkers, not just soldiers. When the vault dweller showed him the evidence, his children could never have children. The Master didn't argue. He triggered the self-destruct and told them to leave while they still had hope. His unity died with him. His sterile children wander the wasteland still, searching for purpose. The Master's super mutants were his successes, the ones FEV transformed correctly. But not every subject survived the vats intact. Some came out fused and screaming. Centaurs are what happens when FEV goes wrong. Multiple humans, dogs, cats, whatever was available, thrown into the vats together, emerging as a single fused organism. The Master didn't discard them. He kept them as pets, guard dogs for his army. They were too broken to serve as soldiers, but too alive to kill. Human faces are still visible in the mass. Sometimes multiple faces, stretched across flesh that was never meant to hold them, mouths opening and closing without sound. They recognize super mutants as family and follow them with something like loyalty, or maybe it's just instinct burned into whatever's left of their nervous system. They spit radioactive projectiles, their biology weaponizing their own dysfunction. East Coast variants from Vault 87 look more dog-like, less humanoid. Different strain, same horror. The process that created them was never standardized because there was never supposed to be a process. Their mistakes replicated. Somewhere in that mass, multiple consciousnesses might still exist. Thinking, remembering, unable to scream. Centaurs were accidents, failed experiments the Master repurposed. But FEV's most terrifying creation was no accident. It was engineered to be the perfect killing machine. Deathclaws. Deathclaws were supposed to replace human soldiers. The U.S. military combined Jackson's chameleons with FEV and extensive gene splicing to create perfect infantry, fast, armored, capable of independent operation behind enemy lines. The bombs fell before deployment. The Deathclaws survived. Their creators didn't. 200 years of post-war evolution made them smarter. They form pack structures now, with matriarchs and alpha males leading family groups. They're not just predators anymore, they're societies. The Enclave tried controlling them with pheromone technology. It worked until it didn't. In Fallout 2, Vault 13 housed intelligent Deathclaws, specimens that developed speech, philosophy, and something like culture. They wanted peace. The Enclave exterminated them anyway, proving that humanity fears what it creates. Their claws can shred power armor. Their speed exceeds anything their size should allow. They're ambush predators, apex hunters, and they're breeding faster than the wasteland can cull them. The military wanted weapons that could operate without oversight. They succeeded beyond their worst nightmares. Deathclaws were engineered for land warfare, but the coasts mutated on their own, and something crawled out of the Chesapeake Bay that no laboratory designed. Mirelurks. Mirelurks aren't one species, they're an entire mutated ecosystem. Chesapeake Bay crabs, horseshoe crabs, snapping turtles, lobsters, 200 years of coastal radiation fused them into something new. They didn't just survive the apocalypse, they won it. The East Coast waterways belong to them now. Standard Mirelurks evolved from crabs, their shells hardened into armor that deflects most ballistic weapons. Aim for the face, it's the only weakness. Mirelurk kings came from snapping turtles, developing sonic attacks from weaponized echolocation. Queens are something else entirely, their base species unknown, capable of laying hundreds of eggs in sprawling underwater hatcheries. They're expanding inland through river systems, no longer content with the coast. Softshell variants suggest rapid ongoing evolution. They're still adapting, still changing, still improving. In another century, they might be completely unrecognizable from what crawled out of the bay. The ocean didn't die when the bombs fell. It mutated, armored itself, and started fighting back. Mirelurks are its soldiers, and they're winning. Mirelurks evolved naturally, radiation and time doing what they do. But in the Mojave, scientists at Big Mountain didn't wait for nature. They built nightmares in a lab and let them escape. Cazadores. Cazadores were created by Dr. Burrows at Big Mountain Research Facility, the same scientist who made Nightstalkers. He spliced tarantula hawk wasp DNA to create larger, more aggressive specimens, then couldn't keep them contained. They escaped into the Mojave Desert. Burrows never acknowledged responsibility. He called it aggressive migration. Tarantula hawk wasps already had one of nature's most painful stings. Burrows made them bigger, faster, and more territorial. Their venom is paralytic. One sting might not kill you, but you won't be able to run when the rest of the swarm arrives. Multiple stings are almost always fatal without anti-venom, and anti-venom is rare. They attack collectively, targeting threats to the nest with a coordinated aggression. Their wings make them faster than most wasteland creatures. You can't outrun them, you can't hide from them. You can only kill them before they reach you, and there are always more waiting. Big MT scientists called them research specimens in their notes. The Mojave calls them something else entirely. Every courier learns that orange wings mean death. Cazadores were Burrows' insect project. His mammal project was somehow worse, splicing predators that had no business sharing DNA. Nightstalkers. Nightstalkers are coyotes spliced with rattlesnakes. Dr. Burrows wanted to see if he could combine mammalian pack hunting with reptilian venom delivery. He succeeded beyond expectations. They escaped Big Mountain, bred explosively across the Mojave, and displaced natural coyotes entirely. Burrows considered this a successful field test. Rattlesnake DNA gave them venomous bites and forked tongues that taste the air for prey. Coyote DNA gave them pack tactics and mammalian reproduction rates. They hunt at night using heat pits inherited from their snake half. You can't hide from them in darkness. That's when they're most active and most dangerous. Their rattling tails warn you, just like their ancestors. If you're close enough to hear the rattle, you're already surrounded. The pack has you pinned. Big MT still produces Nightstalker squeezins. Someone's milking them for venom, which means someone's farming them deliberately. The scientists never stopped experimenting, even after losing control. Science without ethics, consequences without accountability. The Mojave paid the price for their curiosity. Big MT's experiments were reckless, but at least they're documented. Some pre-war projects were so classified that the wasteland forgot they were ever human-made. Wanamingos. Everyone in the wasteland calls them aliens. They look alien, eyeless, tentacled, chitinous. They nest in hives, lay eggs through queens, and kill with methodical efficiency. For decades, survivors assumed they came from space. They didn't. Wanamingos are pre-war biological weapons. The government wanted people to blame extraterrestrials. The cover story outlived the country. They were designed as self-sustaining weapons, aggressive, territorial, capable of breeding without support infrastructure. Deploy them behind enemy lines and let them multiply. Their alien appearance may have been intentional, psychological warfare layered on top of biological warfare. By 2241, they were breeding in abandoned mines around Redding, California. The Chosen One cleared the primary hive, possibly driving them to extinction. No Wanamingos appear in later games. Either they're gone or they're dormant, waiting in undiscovered nests. The real horror isn't what they are. It's that humanity built something this terrible and then lied about it. Blamed little green men while the actual creators hid behind classification stamps that no longer mean anything. Wanamingos had an origin. We just forgot it. But some creatures in the wasteland have no explanation at all. No files, no experiments, no logical mutation path. Just something massive in the fog. Fog crawlers. No one knows what fog crawlers were before the war. Shrimp, maybe. Mantis shrimp. Some crustacean that shouldn't grow that large or survive on land. The radioactive fog of Far Harbor produced something that defies classification. They appeared in the mist, and the island learned to fear the shoreline. They're the largest non-boss creatures in Fallout 4, taller than Deathclaws, armored in exoskeletons that shrug off conventional weapons. They only appear in the fog, suggesting the mist might be necessary for survival. When the fog rolls in, they hunt. Far Harbor natives have no stories of them before the fog thickened. They're new, still evolving. Glowing and enraged variants prove they haven't finished becoming whatever they're becoming. The mystery is the horror. Deathclaws have files. Super mutants have the master's logs. Fog crawlers have nothing. No terminals, no research notes, no explanation. Just that low, booming call through the mist before they appear. Fallout's wasteland isn't full of monsters. It's full of consequences. Pre-war hubris, military contracts, corporate experiments, and radiation finishing what humanity started. Radscorpions Vault-Tec predicted, soldiers that outlived creators, biological weapons and alien disguises, and something in the fog that no file explains. The bombs didn't create the wasteland's horrors. We did. The bombs just set them free.